everyone, and welcome to this edition of Startup Central. I'm Avanne Dubash. We've got lots lined up over the next half hour, and if you want to connect with us or reach out, do send across an email on suc@etnow.tv. Let's put the spotlight then on online gaming, and the Ministry of Electronics and Information has released the draft amendments. This is in relation to online gaming in order to ensure that games are in conformity with the Indian laws and safeguard users against potential harm. So what exactly are these draft new amendments with respect to online gaming? How has the industry responded? What will the new rules do to protect users? And what are the obligations of gaming platforms? Let's delve into this topic. And we've got Nitish Mittersain, who's Joint Managing Director and CEO at Nazara Technologies, now joining us on Startup Central. Thank you so much for taking time out. Nitish, just to begin with, I understand that this is being viewed as a fairly positive step for the industry. The online gaming industry is largely going to benefit from this stable policy framework. What are your rules on the draft rules, and do you think that this central framework will now, put a pause on a lot of the knee-jerk blanket bans that we've seen by states?
Sure. So, I think, as you know, Nazara has been in business for 23 years. We started with a dream that gaming will become large in India. And I think this is a milestone step because it's finally the government is recognizing that this is a sunrise industry and it's becoming large enough for the government to bring in policy making over here. And therefore, I think it's going to help shape a lot of forward growth for this industry. I think the biggest thing that this industry needs, right, and especially companies like Nazara, which are, responsible companies with large shareholder base, and we need to, do what is right for the company, is clarity in regulation. As we've spoken many times, and I've always said that clarity in regulation, especially when it comes to skill-based real money gaming, is extremely important because only then can companies like ourselves really aggressively invest in, these opportunities, which are pretty large. So from that perspective, and also from the perspective of bringing consumer protection, ensuring that there is responsible gaming so that the industry can thrive over a long period of time is very important. And therefore, I welcome the step of putting in a firm policy. How this policy plays out, as you know, there is consultation going on for a month now. The feedback will be taken and the final policy will then be issued. So I'm sure a lot of the feedback is currently being engaged on and will lead to the final policy.
Okay, fair enough. Do you think, I just want to understand from your point of view, Nitish, that these rules may to a certain extent deter users due to the hefty rules and regulations, or the opposite? Do you think that with a lot of transparency in place, it'll attract more users?
Yeah, I think again depends on the final policy outcome. We may have some initial hiccups, but I think from a medium to long term approach, it will set the base for a much larger growth.
Okay, fair enough. Now, the rules generally that are in place are, according to Mr. Chandrasekhar, and that regulate betting largely, a prohibition of wagering on any game. Now, real-time gaming for you as a component at Nazara Tech is a very small component, right? So there's not going to be any major impact, just to understand it for our viewers.
I think we have skill-based real money gaming, which constitutes about 5% of our business. I think it's still very unclear what is allowed and what is not allowed. So we will have to wait for the final policy to come up. But whatever the policy, even in a worst-case situation, the impact would be very limited to us.
Regulations as well, Nitish, they've come at a time when we're seeing the gaming sector see very unprecedented growth. What's your view on the mobile gaming potential and growth in India going forward?
I think gaming in general, whether it's gaming, whether it is esports, whether it is gaming on the mobile phone, I think it's becoming a primary form of entertainment for the youth of India, much more than potentially watching movies or even watching sports. It's becoming an entertainment form. It's becoming a social interaction form between friends, and therefore, I think the potential for this is only going to be increasing. What you're seeing is the tip of the iceberg. India today already features in the top one or two, most downloaded games on mobile phones in the world as a country. And I think even in terms of monetization, it will soon start appearing in the top 10 charts and scale very fast to the top three. I'm very hopeful in the next few years.
Okay, now I just want to understand, given that there's been that transition in the company in terms of managerial position, as you've taken over as CEO, what is the plan to boost organic growth, to strengthen leadership across verticals for Nazara Tech?
Sure. So I think we have two focus areas for 23. One is, like you mentioned, ensure that we are able to optimize organic growth and exploit all potential of the companies we currently operate and the businesses we operate in. And we are very hopeful that we will be able to achieve that. In addition to that, due to the global meltdown in tech valuations, we have many opportunities on the M&A side, and we will continue to look at it. I think this could be a great opportunity for Nazara to continue to expand in the verticals that we are operating in. In terms of leadership, we have a strong leadership in each of our companies. We have founders, we have CXOs running each of these businesses. We've also brought in a new chief operating officer at Nazara. So I think we have a strong team already, and we will continue to strengthen with the best leaders as we can.
Okay, fair enough. And what's the plan in order to accelerate growth for the freemium, ad tech, real money gaming verticals in place?
I think we will very actively pursue M&A opportunities in these verticals, as you know, especially in the skill-based RMG space. Once these policies are out, I think it will give us a lot of confidence to make larger moves. Within the ad tech and premium space, we are already engaging on many conversations, and hopefully we will be able to come back in the next few months with updates on the same.
So can you just elaborate a little bit more in terms of what kind of M&A opportunities you're seeing via your verticals, which companies that you're presently in talks with, or divulge any details on that front as to when we can see something potentially materialize?
Sure. As you know, it will be very difficult for me to divulge specific company names. But I think in the premium space, I think there are many game developers in India and outside of India that we are engaging with. And we also look at, pushing our publishing business in India as this market grows. So I think investment into game developers is something we will be very actively pursuing. In the ad tech space, the company that we already purchased earlier this year, DataWorks, has been doing very well. And we see a lot of bolt-on acquisitions that can happen at the DataWorks level to kind of, build even stronger momentum for them. So we are working very actively with the team on that front. And lastly, on the skill-based real money gaming space, like I mentioned, and I've mentioned earlier as well, we've been waiting for policy regulation clarity as well as GST clarity to take more, aggressive steps there. We have been in conversations with many of the players for the last couple of years, but we haven't really pulled the trigger on it. Hopefully, 23 will allow us to, start doing that.
All right, we wish you all the very best. Nitish, thanks so much for taking time out and joining us today on Startup Central.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.